I'm Nicola Coughlan, and for BBC Radio 4, this is history's youngest heroes. Rebellion, risk, and the radical power of youth.
She thought, right, I'll just do it. She thought about others rather than herself.
12 stories of extraordinary young people from across history.
There's a real sense of urgency in them, that resistance has to be mounted, it has to be mounted now.
Follow History's Youngest Heroes wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Criminalia podcast. I'm Maria Tremarchi.
And I'm Holly Fry. Together, we invite you into the dark and winding corridors of historical true crime.
Each season, we explore a new theme, from poisoners to art thieves.
We uncover the secrets of history's most interesting figures, from legal injustices to body snatching.
And tune in at the end of each episode as we indulge in cocktails and mocktails inspired by each story.
Listen to Criminalia on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Before we get started, just a warning that this episode contains mentions of lynching. Hello, I'm Aaliyah Yates. I'm a producer at Wonder Media Network, and I'm so excited to be guest hosting this week's episodes of Womanica. This Black History Month, we're talking about Renaissance women. As part of the famed cultural and artistic Harlem Renaissance movement, these women found beauty in an often ugly world. Today, we're talking about a poet whose work spoke to the beauty of nature, whose pen crafted tales of warbling baby birds at dawn and the subtle glow of fireflies at night. But what makes her work special is that it catered to a demographic that not only needed to see the beauty of the outside world, but the beauty within themselves. I'm talking about Black children. So gather around the reading circle, y'all, and let me tell you about Effie Lee Newsome. Effie Lee Newsome was born on January 19, 1885, in Philadelphia, to Mary Elizabeth Ash Lee and Benjamin Franklin Lee. Her father was an African Methodist Episcopal bishop whose spiritual calling led him to move his family from congregation to congregation, meaning that Effie spent a portion of her early life on the road. But where she grounded herself was in her books and the outdoors. As a child, Effie was always observing the natural world around her, often noticing details like the leaves changing color or the variety of trees in a new place she visited. These early observations inspired her to write and draw what she saw. At just 5 years old, she began submitting her stories and sketches to children's magazines, winning several prizes in the process. It's safe to say that these early wins paved the way for her success. By 1896, her family finally settled in Wilberforce, Ohio, where later she would attend Wilberforce University. But she didn't stop there. She also attended Oberlin College, the Philadelphia Academy of Fine Arts, and the University of Pennsylvania. Weirdly enough, she didn't receive a degree from any of these schools. But make no mistake, your girl was well educated. In 1917, Effie, like so many writers before her, began working on The Crisis, the NAACP's magazine, alongside civil rights activist and Harlem Renaissance icon W.E.B. DuBois. While it's unclear how they met or how she came to contribute to the magazine, her work soon began appearing in its pages. Like her early work, her poems highlighted what she saw in nature, using ornate language to transport her readers, no matter where they were, to vivid landscapes. A perfect example of this is in her 1918 poem, O Autumn, Autumn. It goes as follows. O autumn, autumn, O pensive light and wistful sound, cold haunted sky, green haunted ground, when wane the dead leaves flutter by, deserted realms of butterfly. When robins band themselves together to seek the soul of sun-steeped weather, and all of summer's largesse goes for lands of olive and the rose. But where Effie would shine the brightest is in the columns she wrote for children. Effie's journey into child literature began when W.E.B. DuBois wanted to create a space where Black literature for children could thrive. 'Cause remember, this is the 1910s, a time when most depictions of Black people were overwhelmingly steeped in harmful stereotypes. and most of the news leaned towards reporting violence against African Americans, leaving little space for positive representation centering children. Effie saw that gap too. So together with Du Bois, she helped launch The Brownies Book, arguably the first magazine to intentionally establish a foundation for Black children's literature. She donated poems and even some of her sketches to the cause. By 1920, Effie had married Reverend Henry Nesby Newsome, moved to Birmingham, Alabama, and began blending her love of nature with a new focus, helping Black kids celebrate their beauty and identity through her poetry. Later, she took charge of running the children's column of TCrisis, lovingly called The Little Pages. This space became her canvas for prose, poems, and drawings that deeply resonated with young readers. Effie created warmth, encouragement, and connection to the land that, when read, could help these kids feel like they belong. That being Black was not a curse, but a profound blessing. An example of that sentiment is found in one of her more popular pieces, The Bronze Legacy, To a Brown Boy, written in 1922, in which she states, "'Tis a noble gift to be brown, all brown, like the strongest things that make up this earth, like the mountains grave and grand, even like the very land, even like the trunks of trees, even oaks to be like these. God builds his strength in bronze, to be brown like thrush and lark, like the subtle wrens so dark. Nay, the king of beasts wears brown. Eagles are the same hue. I thank God, then, I am brown. Brown has mighty things to do." She continued this mission of adding love and compassion to this platform until 1929, though she continued to submit poetry to the publication until 1934. After that, information on her life and projects becomes sparse. What we do know is that she returned to Wilberforce after the death of her husband in 1937. And just 3 years later, she published her only volume of poetry, Gladiola Garden, Poems of Outdoors and Indoors for second-grade readers. Like the title suggests, this book of poetry was geared towards younger kids, using accessible language, themes, and yes, pictures to appeal to younger audiences. The poems cover a range of topics, from the familiar marvels of nature, look to the golden garden spider or young bird's mouth, to familiar sights and experiences, like growing taller in the summer in Back, or wondering who wakes the birds up in Strange. This book holds both older and newer works with the same purpose, to instill confidence in Black children by linking them with things and activities that are commonplace and natural. For the remainder of her life, Effie spent her days as a librarian at the nearby Central State College and at the College of Education at Wilberforce University. Needless to say, her journey had come back full circle. She retired in 1963 and died in 1979. She was 94 years old. Effie Lee Newsome's legacy may not shine as brightly as some of her contemporaries, with lots of her work being forgotten. But her contributions remain unique and necessary. With over 150 poems published, she was the first predominantly African-American poet whose work centered on and celebrated Black children. Her work should inspire us to not only stop and smell the roses, but to listen to the quietest, sometimes smallest voices, and amplify everything beautiful about it. In short, Effie love the kids. All month, we're talking about Renaissance women. For more information, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Womanica Podcasts. Shout out to Jenny and Liz Kaplan for letting me on the mic. Talk to y'all tomorrow.
I'm Nicola Coughlan, and for BBC Radio 4, this is history's youngest heroes. Rebellion, risk, and the radical power of youth.
She thought, right, I'll just do it. She thought about others rather than herself.
12 stories of extraordinary young people from across history.
There's a real sense of urgency in them, that resistance has to be mounted now.
Follow History's Youngest Heroes wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Criminalia podcast. I'm Maria Tremarchi.
And I'm Holly Fry. Together, we invite you into the dark and winding corridors of historical true crime.
Each season, we explore a new theme, from poisoners to art thieves.
We uncover the secrets of history's most interesting figures, from legal injustices to body snatching.
And tune in at the end of each episode as we indulge in cocktails and mocktails inspired by each story.
Listen to Criminalia on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.